welcome back. So today we're going to make one of my possibly favorite desserts to make. Actually, it's probably one of my favorite desserts to eat. It's an Apple Tarte Tatin. Done correctly, it's amazing. So I'm just going to give you a few tips on how to get that perfect Tarte Tatin. So for a Tarte Tatin, we need apples, sugar, butter, puff pastry. Simple as, guys, but it's all about the preparation, the cooking time, and so on and so forth. So I've got 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of butter. For this Tarte Tatin, this is going to be enough for 4 to 6 people. I've got 6 to 7 apples. Now, when we choose the apples, it's super important that we choose the right apples. We want to choose an apple that's going to stay together while the Tarte Tatin's cooking. My apple of choice is a Pink Lady, whether it's from New Zealand. New Zealand ones are probably the best for me, as in holding together. There is apples out there that you can use, but stay away from a Granny Smith for sure. But my apple of choice is a Pink Lady. So what I've basically done is, guys, I peel the apples a day before. So we peel the apples the day before, we cut them in half, and then we let them dry out. You can see these apples here, they're kind of gone slightly brown, but they're nicely dry. It doesn't matter that they're brown, we're going to caramelize them anyway, so they're going to go brown. So we want to dry them slightly so we get some of that moisture out the apple. So when we caramelize the sugar and the butter, we get a nice caramelization and a beautiful color. Too much water in the apple, it just makes the caramel diluted and it gives it a light color. So that's my first top tip, is prepare your apples the day before, cut them up. I just put them in the fridge in a tea towel and let them dry out. Perfect, guys. That's the first top tip, along with the apples. So we're going to start to make the Tarte Tatin. Pan's important. Make sure you've got a nice pan, not too deep. You know, I'd say that's about what, 3 inches? Right, so first of all, and puff pastry, guys, this is bought puff pastry. You know, there's nothing wrong with buying puff pastry. If you've got time to make it fresh yourself, crack on. But this is just pre-rolled puff pastry from any supermarket or any greengrocer. And all I've done with that is I've cut that out with a lid of a pan, but we'll come to that later. So, Tarte Tatin. We're going to start with the butter, guys. So like I say, we've got 100 grams of unsalted, softened butter. And then we're just going to put that in the bottom of the pan, like so. First, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the butter, and I'm just going to smear the butter all over the bottom of the pan, like so. And get it all on the bottom of the pan. Don't need to worry too much about the sides, it's more about the bottom. So we just make sure all that butter is smeared on the bottom of the pan, like so. Then we're going to take our sugar. Sugar on top, and then we're just going to, you don't need too much work with the sugar, because the sugar sticks to the butter. So that's our first stage, guys. So we're going to take our apples, and again I've got about 6 to 8 whole apples there, guys, so they've been halved, and I've just slightly rounded them off with a small knife. So we want to make the Tarte Tatin nice and neat, so when we tip it out we get this really nice effect from the apple. So I'm going to put one apple in the middle, and then I'm going to start to build the apples around the outside of the middle apple, like so. And drying these apples out, guys, really makes a big difference at the end, and you'll see it. So with the Tarte Tatin also is, I like to make this before I cook the main course, because when we actually cook the Tarte Tatin, My advice is, once you've cooked it in an oven, I like to let it rest for a minimum of 1 hour. The reason I let it rest for a minimum of 1 hour is all that pectin in the apples sets the apples together, and it just makes it nice and lovely, basically. So, and then I would then reheat it back in the oven for about 10 minutes at about 125 degrees. But the first cooking stage, I do 180 for about an hour, but we're going to show you how to do that. So, I've put my apples in there like so, and I'm just going to pop that one in there. So, that's how it looks, guys. You can see that. So there's an apple in the middle, and all the apples have gone on round the outside. At the moment, it's looking great. So, puff pastry. I cut the puff pastry, not the same size as the pan we're going to use. I'd say about an inch and a half more, so it laps over. So, we're going to take our puff pastry, and then we're just going to pop it in like so. And with the puff pastry, you want that puff pastry to just tuck underneath the apple. So basically, when we caramelize it, the edges of the pastry caramelize as well. So I like to just tuck it in. You can just see me. And again, guys, always work with your pastry cold. Take it straight from the fridge, and then make sure you're working with it cold pastry. So I've tucked it in the sides. So you can see what I'm doing here, guys. I'm just bringing the pastry in and tucking it in. Tucking it in like so. Beautiful. Happy with that. So that's where we're at with that. So all the pastry's tucked in underneath the apples. But there's another tip I'm going to show you. Is you can imagine putting that on the stove, and we're going to caramelize the butter and sugar, so it's going to create a lot of steam. I want that steam to escape, and the reason I want that steam to escape is that I want the sugar to caramelize with the butter. Too much water, you're not going to get good caramelization. So we just take a knife and just put big holes in it, guys. Don't worry about the holes. The holes are going to fill up. You're not going to see that because we're going to turn it upside down. But the holes in the tarte tatin are super important, and is a must to release that steam from the apples. So that's our tarte tatin. That's the first thing. So guys, I'm just going to show you how to caramelize the first stage of the tarte tatin. So I've got the gas up really high. Then we're just going to put our tarte tatin that we've made on top of the gas. Now what we want to achieve there, we want to caramelize the sugar and butter to a dark caramel. So we're going to leave it on there. That's probably going to take about 10 minutes to really caramelize up nicely. Once that's caramelized, I'll show you the stage we're going to take it to. We're going to cook it in an oven 180 for 60 minutes. That's 180 for 60 minutes. But that's the first stage. We'll come back to it. You can just see it starting to bubble up there, guys. It's just starting to bubble up nicely, but it's nowhere near ready to put in the oven yet. You may find that the sugar may separate from the butter. Don't worry about that. Once it gets in the oven, it's all going to get really lovely and nice, and it's get to know each other in the oven. So we're a bit off yet, but it's starting to bubble now. We're starting to get a really nice caramelized color on that sugar, but it's not quite there yet. I want to take it a bit further. So a little bit further, but you can start to see it caramelizing. Okay guys, so we're almost there. You can see that sugar is caramelizing nicely there. Almost there. You just see it starting to caramelize nicely there. But I'd say about another couple of minutes, guys. Okay guys, so I'm happy with the color on this caramel now. That's beautiful. It's not too dark enough, so I'm happy with that. But you can see what I mean about the butter slightly split out from the sugar. Don't worry about that, it's all going to be nice. So at this point, I'm going to put it in an oven at 180 for 60 minutes. So that's 180 for 60 minutes. I've just taken the Apple Tarte Tatin out the oven and it smells amazing. You know, caramelized sugar, apple, puff pastry. It looks phenomenal. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to let it rest for an hour, just so all the pectins come out the pectins come out the apple, so all the apples stick together. And then at the end of the dinner, we're going to reheat this in the oven just for 10 minutes and then recaramelize the sugar and serve it. But at the moment, guys, it looks great. Just wanted to show you the Tarte Tatin, guys, a bit of a close-up here. You can just see that sugar's caramelized in there. The puff pastry is nice and crispy. It's beautiful, guys, beautiful. Hi guys, so welcome back. So this has had an hour to rest. So the pectins have come out, the apples, and the apples have all stuck together. It smells lovely and it looks amazing. So I'm just going to reheat this now. So I'm going to pop it in an oven, about 125 degrees for 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes are up, I'm going to take it out of the oven, put it back on the gas, just to recaramelize that sugar again, and then we're going to pop it out. So I'm going to pop that in the oven for 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back into. Okay guys, I've just took the Tarte Tatin out the oven, so that's had 10 minutes at 125 degrees, just to warm it through. So I'm just going to put this on the gas a little bit, just to release the last of the caramel off the bottom of that pan, and that'll loosen up the Tarte Tatin and make it easier to put on a plate. Okay guys, so here is the moment of truth. I'm just going to tip out the Tarte Tatin. So there we go guys, it's nice and loose. Putting it on that stove for 10 minutes just loosens up that caramel. And it smells amazing. I just can't stress enough how good this smells. It's a real showstopper. I'm going to serve this with just some creme fraiche. You could serve it with some vanilla ice cream or some Calvados creme fraiche. That's really good. But tonight we're just going to serve it with creme fraiche. So I'm just going to tip out the Tarte Tatin now. Wow, first time, looks amazing. Just rearrange the apples a little bit. And there we have it guys. That's my Apple Tarte Tatin. Really crispy, the pastry's crispy, it smells amazing. You've got that deep colour of caramel in that apples. Great job that. So, it's good night for me. God bless. Stay safe, stay home, and we will see you tomorrow. Smells lovely. Smells great. Good night.